Kevin Taddonio, professional triathlete out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Here talking about Hypoxico Altitude Training Systems tent system here. And if you're endurance athlete, serious about sports, you're probably just like me, looking for just about any advantage you can get. And if you ever watch the Tour de France or the Olympics, you always hear about doping and using drugs. And a lot of these athletes will take drugs to cheat to improve their performance. When a lot of these performance enhancing benefits can really be found just by training at altitude. That's legal, doping's not legal. So I was here with my friend Mike Moriarty from Groucho Sports. He slept in this tent last night. This is in my spare bedroom in my house in Las Vegas. And I had been using this tent before for the last 2 years before big competitions. I have Ironman Coeur d'Alene coming up on June 24th. And I've used this since 2010 when I used it before the Kona Ironman World Championships in Hawaii. Essentially, altitude training helps boost endurance and performance. A lot of endurance is really limited by how much oxygen your body can utilize. And training at altitude, living at altitude, really, essentially what you're doing here is you're sleeping at altitude. Actually, it's simulated altitude here. And when you unzip the tent in the morning, when you wake up, you're back to sea level. So here you can really, literally sleep high, train low, which is really the ultimate because your body is getting the hypoxic stress of living at altitude, but then you can train hard during the day, you can recover, then jump back in the tent at night. So I think Mike has a couple questions. We want to talk about some of the particulars of how you use this tent, why it works, how it works, and some of the benefits of it.
So Kevin, how early before each race will you start training with this? Will you start sleeping in the tent?
All right, so I started training, so Coeur d'Alene is coming up on the 24th. I started about 6 weeks before the event. You want to give yourself a good 4 to 5 weeks at altitude or in simulated altitude. In order for your body to get the hypoxic stress, your body will get stimulated by the stress and secrete a hormone called erythropoietin. It's a hormone secreted by your kidneys. You hear a lot about EPO and people that have renal disease or cancer. Even Lance Armstrong, when he had cancer, was given this drug, EPO, in order to boost his red blood cells. And so essentially that's what you're looking to do, is to get that boost of red blood cells. Also, hemoglobin is stimulated to increase as well. Now, not all people are responders to altitude training. About 30% of the population or so don't respond at all to altitude training. So really the only way to find out is to give it a shot. Maybe spend some time at altitude or renting one of these tents. These tents can be rented for about $1,200 a month. They cost about $5,000 to purchase, a little bit pricey. But really in a world where you're spending thousands of dollars on equipment anyways for those 1 or 2% advantages, really, spending 4 or 5 weeks in a tent isn't that big of a deal.
So Kevin, a lot of people have heard a lot of the negatives about EPO and using it artificially to get performance enhancements, but sleeping in this tent produces the natural EPO in your body.
Yeah.
Your body holds natural EPO already.
It does.
And this is a legal way to enhance your own performance, which is what altitude training is all about. It's perfectly legal.
This is perfectly legal. It's not the easiest thing. It's not the most comfortable thing when you have a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or husband to want to really sleep in this tent for a month, because it's not the most comfortable thing, really. But essentially, if the normal hematocrit and hemoglobin in a person, hematocrit is usually about 42% of a healthy man's blood volume. So sleeping in a tent like this, you're looking for a boost of just a couple percent, really. The problem with synthetic EPO and the drugs people take to dope is, the amount that you inject into yourself. Really, first of all, it's illegal. You can't do it. But also, once you start to get above 50 hematocrit, when your blood becomes more than 50% red blood cells, you start to run the risk of health risks and really, heart attack, stroke, things like that. Really increasing. You hear about elite athletes just dropping dead, and a lot of that can be related to potentially doping.
Mm-hmm.
So here, this is more of a natural way, especially if you supplement with like a healthy supplement like iron. Like this is a raw iron supplement I take while I'm in the tent, because when you're spending time in the tent, you obviously need more red blood cells. So taking a lot of protein, a lot of iron, a lot of vitamin B12 can really help to get the full benefits of the tent. So you're not running the risk of becoming. You don't have to go anywhere. This is in your comfort of your own home. So people that have full-time jobs, people that have lives and can't just train anywhere they want, it helps just to be able to put this in your bedroom, 4 to 5 weeks and you're done. You don't have to go anywhere, spend any extra money, stay in any high location. And a lot of people talk about living high, train low. So ideally, it's been proven through science and through lots of studies that the best thing you can do for altitude training is to put yourself into a situation where you can sleep at altitude and train low. And if you go to Flagstaff or any other high mountain location, it's hard to live up at 7,000 feet, then try to find training at close to sea level. Really, you have to drive a couple hours. Logistically, it can be a nightmare, and having a tent like this solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Saves you money in the long run, possibly.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering my next question. So let's move on to the unit here that kind of does all of the work for the hypoxico system here. What are we looking at on this unit here?
Yeah, so essentially it's pretty easy on and off. I'll push it on here, and you can definitely tell there's a hum to the system. I'll turn it off. So essentially,
plugs right into a regular wall outlet.
Yes, it does.
All right.
And what I do is I actually put this in the room next door, so I don't have this vibration going on, so it's not loud. And then this tube actually will run into the tent. Now, essentially what this is doing is this is pumping nitrogen into the tent. At sea level, you're looking at about 20% oxygen that's in the atmosphere. So what this does is this pumps nitrogen into the tent, reduces that percentage of oxygen in the tent to impose that hypoxic stress. And here with this dial, you can actually control the altitude you're sleeping at. So how much nitrogen is being pumped in the tent, you can control anywhere from 1,200 feet all the way up to almost 13,000 feet. Now, it's been proven through lots of research that the ideal for living high, training low is between 2,000 and 500 meters. I'm sorry, 2,000 and 2,500 meters. So
it goes all the way up to what, 12,500 here?
Feet, yeah.
And it's read from 10 to 12.5.
Exactly.
So that's like the danger zone. Be careful.
Yeah. So a lot of mountain climbers will use this. There are people are going up to the Himalayas, or people are climbing Denali, things like that. They want to get up really high. That might not be the best for Ironman training or for cyclists. But really, if you're too low, you're not going to get enough hypoxic stress. If you're too high, you're not going to recover from your workouts. You're not going to sleep very well. Trust me, I've had some really bad sleep in this tent if you jack it up too high. But the nice thing is it's totally adjustable. So you find kind of that sweet spot. And one of the tools you can use to actually help find that sweet spot is using just a simple pulse oximeter. Now, if anyone's ever spent time in a hospital or been in a hospital has probably seen this. This is a really easy device to use.
Show them how this works.
Yeah, essentially you just put your finger right on the pulse oximeter, and after a couple seconds you're going to get your pulse readout and your percent of oxygen in your blood. Now, a healthy person should be between 97 and 100. Here we're at about 3,200 feet up in Summerlin, so maybe I'm just a little under 100, and you can see my pulse is 61. Now what I'll do is I'll wear this pulse oximeter in the tent with me, and the first couple days or weeks of using the tent, I'll try to get this pulse oximeter to read about 90 to 93% oxygen in my blood. So really, that's the percent carrying capacity in your blood. So ideally, between 90 and 93, you're getting that good hypoxic stress, but it's not too much stress where you're not able to recover, not too much stress where it's affecting your sleep. I find that once it gets into the 80s, I start almost gasping for breath a little bit, and you can really feel it. And if it's over 93, probably not getting enough stress to get that red blood cell volume up. So using a pulse oximeter can really help.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin.